Hi, my name is Tom Griffiths and I'm the CEO of Hone. Hone is a unique platform that brings live online instructor-led training to modern distributed teams. We're trying to teach people everywhere world-class leadership, management and soft skills, so that it doesn't matter where your people are located, they get the best training that company and Hone can provide.
Robby Peters, co-founder of PeopleTech and Sempervirens. So thanks for obviously sitting down today. I said, sure. It's been kind of a whirlwind of a conference as we've been walking around. I feel like we've crossed paths, but finally get to sit down. So how's the conference been so far for you?
It's been amazing. We've been describing it as a whirlwind of just meeting amazing people. We got to be on a panel. We're exhibiting at the expo. Met a ton of new potential partners, and it's just been exceptional for us.
So we've worked together, in a couple of capacities. Obviously, started the relationship with PeopleTech, and now working together in Sempervirens. Kind of would love to hear your thoughts and experiences a little bit, but maybe start with PeopleTech. And I know even before, we had known Jeremy and Savina, and you would kind of come in. But in your words, how have you kind of describe PeopleTech?
Absolutely. I mean, I would say PeopleTech's been a real partner through the whole journey, from right on day one all the way through to where we are today. In the initial stages, it's about getting that essential product feedback from real top-level folks in the HR space, so that we know we're onto something and that we're building the right thing.
Yep.
And then as things have gone on, they've helped us connect with potential partners, connect with potential investors. Right. So really the engagement evolves as the company's grown. So it's been great.
Talk to me a little bit about what are some of, because I think, when we first had met, there wasn't even really fully a live product, and it's evolved a lot. What are some of the pieces of feedback that have been helpful as you've gone through the journey?
Yeah, absolutely. We've learned a lot through PeopleTech partner conversations about what the software needs to do and how that jives with the live content that we have. So we've evolved the feature set of the product to be more focused on delivering a great experience both for the admin and the learner, and also learned that we need to be integrating with more of the HR ecosystem, so that our tools plug into HRIS, LMS. On the content side, I think we've gone through a few iterations of that as well. And we've broken up what was originally kind of a one-size-fits-all bootcamp to be more of a tailored solution to companies. And that's really resonating with people. And we wouldn't have got there without the help from PeopleTech partners. That's
awesome. That's awesome. And you talk about, I know you've brought on a couple of great advisors that have, gone even outside of the program to spend a lot of time with you. Can you talk a little bit about, some of the work you've had and who your advisors have been?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were lucky enough to get an intro to Josh Burson through PeopleTech, and he came on as a formal advisor, has really helped shape the vision for the company, but also help legitimize us in such a crowded space, which has been really helpful.
That's awesome.
To cut through the noise. Also working with Joe Dennis now at Pinterest, and also Ciara Lacani. They've been our formal advisors through PeopleTech, and they're always there at the other end of the phone whenever we need them to help us shape the product, and that's been super helpful too.
It's been a very popular product of PeopleTech. You've brought on a lot of folks that have used you as their company, right? Can you talk about maybe a case study or two?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we're seeing more broadly in HR a big trend towards distributed teams. And that was something that we experienced in my previous company that inspired a lot of the ideas for Hone. And so we've tried to create a training solution that fits exactly to that use case. I think a lot of the PeopleTech companies who are growing so quickly really need that training solution for people being everywhere. So we've been able to run pilots with Dashlane, with Armada Health. One of our biggest clients is currently Clear, the airport security company.
I love them. They've saved me many times.
They're obviously a distributed team being across many different airports in the US. And we train a lot of their frontline managers. They're in the back room, taking their training on their phones, on Hone, and they can go back right out onto the floor after that 60-minute session and apply what they've learned. So they've been ramping up with us, and a lot of other companies through PeopleTech have really helped us grow that early customer base, which is so essential to getting off the ground.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I think your product's been very interesting for two reasons, right? I mean, one is companies have been spending a massive amount of money on learning and development, and up to recently, a lot of it's just been like 2-day offsites, go here, do that, right? And then you forget about it after, right? So the other one is around the distributed side, but let's maybe sit there. How is this changing the way people are doing learning and development?
Absolutely, great question. So one of the things we're really passionate about is making sure that it's not just a one and done training experience, and it actually gets applied to the workplace. So one of the advantages of doing it virtually is that they're just 60-minute sessions that you can do anytime. So we can do it once a week, once every 2 weeks for a period of a couple of months. And people really get to learn on the job as they go, and then actually apply that to the workplace when they finish the session. So we get our learners to commit on the workshop to actually doing something differently this coming week.
Yep.
And then we record it and make sure we follow up and that they did their homework.
Yeah.
And we're seeing people really applying the training and that having a much bigger impact than, like you say, having a great experience for a couple of days, but then not having that follow-up to make sure it's transferred to the workplace.
Yeah, I mean, the follow-up's huge. Can you talk a little bit about how you're doing it today, how you're seeing that for the vision? Because, I mean, if I come through a session that you're doing, right, and we have this goal, you know, you're actually helping us track that, right? And
yeah, absolutely. So it's, again, the kind of the people side working with the technology. So we'll have the coach have people commit to their homework assignment, but then we'll use SMS automated to follow up to make sure that they're reminded to do that. And if they're having any struggles, maybe they've hit an obstacle midweek, we can coach them through that over the messaging platform.
That's amazing.
So they can really make sure that they're applying it by the time they come around to meet next.
Totally.
And then move on to the next lesson.
Yeah, I mean, super relevant, and I know as you continue to build this, being able to use those nudges, those pushes that are going to be huge. The other trend that we were talking about, remote and distributed workforces, how has that really evolved? You know, I think that's been one of the hottest topics. You know, I know you just did a big panel on that here today, right? That you led. What's your views on where the world, I guess, is going in that sense, and then why is home so important for these teams?
It's a huge trend. I completely agree. The stats we had this morning were now the majority of companies have some people remote. So 63% of companies, which is
63%.
Yeah, so it's now the norm for people.
Okay.
And so HR is thinking through how do we recreate our amazing employee experience, our recruitment function, and our training function for this new way of setting up the company. And so we like to be a partner to our clients to help them think through a bunch of that, obviously focusing on the training side. It has so many advantages. I mean, it's such a challenge to hire in certain intense geos at the moment, like the Bay Area in New York. You can find amazing talent countrywide, worldwide. So people are accessing that. Saves costs, and actually, you know, it's a better employee experience. You get to work from wherever you want. And so people love it on both sides. And so we're just trying to support that huge trend.
That's awesome. Your trainings specifically, right? Like how are they utilizing video? Can you, if I'm an employee, can you talk to me about like the path I get when I come in?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're very keen for all of our trainings to be super interactive. If it was just going to be a PowerPoint presentation, you might as well watch it on YouTube. This is about interaction and learning these kind of interactive people skills. So we usually start a session with 10, 15 minutes after the initial hellos of a concept, and then we spend the rest of the time just practicing it, breaking out into pairs in breakout rooms, getting feedback from the coach, doing some group coaching. So it really is quite a workout for people that they take then back to the workplace. The kinds of topics we cover are all of the general manager essentials, so how to give feedback, how to have difficult conversations, how to do a one-on-one, but also with a few modules we focus on exactly the remote work environment. So how to manage a remote team, how to be a great remote team member. Those are some of the essential skills that you need in this new world, so we serve those too.
Yeah, that's great. And I think your story is so interesting too. I mean, you know, this wasn't just, oh, I'm going to come into this, I see this space. I mean, can you tell us a little bit about, you know, your background and why this has become such a vision for you?
Sure, absolutely. So Hone is my fourth startup. The first two were great. Some great learning experiences.
I don't really see any gray hairs going on either, man.
There's a few, especially after this week. We got lucky the third time and built a company called FanDuel, which became a gaming unicorn back in 2015. Grew that from just 5 of us as founders to over 500 people, 7 different offices, multiple countries. And so really lived that hyper-growth journey in a distributed setting. And so we really struggled to find great leadership and management training, which was crazy to me because it's such an important skill set as you grow, for performance, for engagement, for employee retention. And so when I hit my 10-year anniversary at that company, wanted to go back to the start something new. Always been passionate about education, wanted to do something in this space, and so just started playing with the problem that we'd experienced ourselves and realized it wasn't just FanDuel. Many companies are struggling with management training in a remote setting. So wanted to create a solution for that problem that we've seen ourselves.
That's awesome. I mean, I think that's what also just gets me so excited about People Tech is that, you know, everyone that's coming into the space and creating and seeing, you know, how important, you know, the human element, the people side is, it's because there a lot of them had built other companies, and these are the challenges they're trying to solve for.
Exactly right. And I think to speak to People Tech, it was almost a shortcut for us to get to know the industry, build a network, get that feedback. I've been in fantasy sports on the B2C side, which couldn't be more different, some would say, from HR.
Yeah.
And so being part of People Tech really helped me learn faster than I think I could have any other way about the industry and build an instant network there. So that's been really, really helpful.
Working with you in People Tech, we got to work so closely together, and then we were in the formation of Sempervirens. What attracted you to continue the partnership onto the Sempervirens side?
Well, I think continuing the partnership with Sempervirens was a natural decision for us after People Tech. Just the opportunity to get even more embedded with the leadership team of these organizations and also the networks that they can help with, we knew was going to be super value add. So we were lucky enough to raise a funding round back in December and had, again, very fortunate to have had a choice of partners. We were very keen to bring Semper into that round because it's really differentiated as an investor.
Yeah.
No one can kind of provide the same network or assistance that this network can, and so we're more than happy to partner on the round.
Did you enjoy the day we did the other day, kind of seeing and meeting all the other investments? I know we spent a couple offsites together, but what was your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, loved the session the other day. I mean, not just because we get to meet the partners and the firm, but also seeing the other portfolio CEOs grapple with a lot of the same issues, especially for us because we're perhaps a little bit further back than a few of the others, just having started a year ago. We can see the trajectory of how companies like Clio or Carrot are heading out ahead of us and wanting to follow that trail. I think there's a lot of companies doing what we're doing in some ways, which is blending technology with a network of real people to support folks in the HR space in different ways. And so we're trading notes on how to do that best and learning from them, which is great.
That's so true. I mean, there's a lot of similarities between what a Clio's doing and what you're doing. It's a completely different life cycle of what they're concentrating on. But you're right, there's not only notes of selling to the same buyer, but also similar structure about the way you're building the company. So that's cool to hear. That's been helpful.
Yeah, definitely. So both on the go-to-market side and then also on the product and operational side, we can compare notes and learn from each other, and it's been really helpful.
Great. So, there's been a lot of events, and one of the most well-attended one was the one that you put on this morning around remote and distributed workforce, right? Because obviously it's such a big topic. It's been in every conversation we've been doing interviews around everything going on. You had an amazing team. You had the heads of HR from companies like Envision and GitHub, right, and Elastic that are really creating this. So what an awesome opportunity. Can you give us some of the kind of tidbits that you got out of that conversation? They
really are leading the world in how they're thinking about setting up their remote teams. So we talked about the logistics of setting up in various countries and the kind of PEO structures that you need to do that well. The idea of choosing geographies based on a lot of data around where the talent can be, being quite data forward in that approach. I think how you recruit has to include tests for whether folks are able to work remotely. And so even highlighted a case study where one company is using Slack for part of their interview process. So to check that they can communicate in text, because that's going to be how they're going to be working. So that was really interesting. And I think the history of remote work is that people think perhaps it's a necessity. Oh, we can't afford to hire here. We really need to have a team there. But one of the themes that really kind of rounded out the session this morning was that this can be a better way to work than the traditional one, because folks can be wherever they want to be. You feel like you get a slice of the real human being when they're in their bedroom with a cat walking behind you. And so it builds stronger relationships. People are more productive and focused, and they can be wherever they want. So it's really less of a necessity, more of a choice and a positive impact for the workplace. Yeah, I think I remember when Shelby, who I know was on that panel, we did some work together. She wrote a big article for us, and I think she took a picture where she was in her slippers, at her seat in her room, but she felt like that was really helping her know people better than anything else, and kind of blending work and life, right? Yeah, she's also said absolutely that she feels closer to some of her Envision colleagues who might be in a different continent than she did with folks that she's worked with in offices for years. Because you do get that personal slice of their life, and you work so closely together, albeit remotely. Totally. Yeah, and a couple other things, because you're actually seeing this from many, many ways, right? Video technology has come up in every conversation. You're already utilizing it really strongly. You just kind of talked about when people are recruiting they're recruiting on certain skills. What are kind of the new rules of workforce that we're seeing? How do you make sure that people can have a conducive conversation when there's 10 people on video? Yeah, absolutely. So a big part of it that came out this morning was, sure, you need to test for that. Part of the interview process should be how they're working. So over Zoom or even on Slack. It was interesting to hear that most success often comes with folks who are a little bit later in their career.
Okay.
And so they've got that workplace experience, they know the norms, and they have made a life choice to be somewhere more remote. But they can bring their experience and past learnings, I guess, to bear on that remote relationship, which gets things started on a better footing than if it's someone's first role.
That's really interesting. Okay, so that's actually like a pretty good learning, right? Maybe something hard to do straight out of college. You still need some maybe in-person work to understand the norms, but then being able to translate that.
Right, absolutely. Or you need some training from a company that can help you get up the curve.
Do you know one? I love it. And then how about just, kind of video technology? How do you make sure that people are using it properly, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, the tool set for remote teams has been growing. It's an absolute essential to making it all work. Centerpiece is often a video technology like Zoom or Hangouts. I think there are certain norms around that where you need to still, particularly in management, take the same best practices of really like listening to people, making sure you're being respectful, on time, also being professional, at least from the waist up.
There it is. Okay.
People are in pajamas, but with a nice shirt on top, and again, bringing a lot of the experience that folks have had at other places to be a great kind of remote colleague, and just upping your game in terms of responsiveness and respect.
Any other points from the panel? Obviously, it was such an awesome experience.
One really interesting takeaway was to be really conscious of the language that you use around distributed teams.
Okay.
So Leah talked about the difference between the feeling of a distributed team, where everybody is equally distributed, and remote employees who, by the language that you're using, feel remote by implication, remote from something.
Yeah.
And so think of not just the HQ and the remote employees, but actually everyone being a distributed team together.
Got it. Love that.